Have you ever wondered if seeing too much might be a kind of curse disguised as virtue? There are eyes that never rest, ears that catch what was never said, and souls that feel what no one dares to admit. Those eyes which see the cracks beneath the varnish of civility end up discovering something the whole world prefers to ignore. Truth hurts, and knowledge, my friend, charges high interest. I learned that too early, and since then I've grown suspicious of what others call a gift. Society loves comfortable blindness. It turns ignorance into refuge and calls alienation balance. While everyone lives by appearances, the one who sees beyond the masks becomes a stranger in their own time. And the more one perceives, the less the world recognizes them. Seeing too much is like living inside a broken mirror, reflecting fragments no one else can bear.
But the real danger isn't in seeing. It's in continuing to see when everyone around pretends there's nothing to notice. That's where the isolation of the lucid begins, the price of someone who can no longer pretend. And it's about this elegant exile that I wish to speak next, because the modern world, with all its light, still lives in shadows. Have you noticed that the world has become a stage where everyone acts without realizing it? People smile to hide boredom, post happiness to disguise emptiness, and swear they're fine while drowning in silence. It's a choreography of appearances, likes, compliments, automatic greetings. No one wants to be the first to ruin the performance. And the more perfect the act, the faker the show becomes.
We live bound by an invisible pact. Pretending is safer than feeling. No one admits the lie, yet everyone plays along. "How are you?" has become a social formula, and "I'm fine," a curtain that hides the wounds. Even sincerity has turned into a threat. Few can bear to be truly seen. The theater of modern life is too comfortable for those afraid of the mirror. But there's always one gaze that shatters the illusion. Someone who senses the tension behind the smile, the emptiness beneath success. And that gaze, my friend, is not welcome. Because when you see what others pretend doesn't exist, the audience begins to hate you. And that's where the tragedy of the lucid truly begins. Did you know that the most lucid are almost always the most lonely? Not out of arrogance, but because a gaze that sees deeply becomes unbearable to those who only live on the surface. The attentive observer ends up surrounded by empty crowds, shallow talks, and heavy silences. He speaks, and few understand. He listens, and almost nothing moves him, for he has heard it all before, only under different masks. The loneliness of the lucid isn't a lack of company, it's an excess of consciousness. He perceives intentions between the lines, false notes in kind words, and static in easy laughter. Every face around him is a reflection of something he's already seen, and the weight of that repetition hurts more than solitude. Others call him cold, distant, arrogant. But in truth,
He's simply tired of pretending not to notice the obvious.
And the more he sees, the farther he drifts. Not because he wants to, but because no one can bear the mirror he represents. That's the price of clarity. To be surrounded by people and still live alone. But the real dilemma is yet to come, when the lucid must choose between speaking or remaining silent. And that choice, my friend, decides whether he finds freedom or madness. Have you realized that telling the truth is often the fastest way to lose everything? We live in an age where silence is rewarded and lucidity punished. Those who see too much carry within themselves a bomb they must decide to diffuse or detonate. To speak is to challenge others' false peace. To remain silent is to betray one's own soul, and neither path is safe. The lucid learn early that truth doesn't set you free, it isolates you. Because each time they reveal what they see, the world reacts with anger disguised as morality. They're called negative, paranoid, insensitive. But in truth, it's the opposite. They feel so deeply, they can no longer lie. And that unsettles those who still need illusions to survive. And so they live on the edge of a blade, divided between courage and silence. Every word becomes a choice, to be faithful to what they see, or survive among the blind. But there comes a time when the dilemma changes shape, and the danger no longer comes from outside. The true battle begins within, and that's when the war starts between what one feels and what one must pretend not to. Have you noticed how the bearer of truth always becomes the villain of the story? The crowd never forgives those who see what it refuses to. To point out the lie is like lighting a candle in a room of the blind. Everyone turns against the light. The blame shifts from the problem to the one who noticed it. It's the inevitable punishment for those who expose collective comfort. The world despises mirrors, and the lucid, poor soul, is a mirror in the flesh. They call him negative, bitter, conspiratorial. Any label will do to silence discomfort. It's easier to destroy the messenger than to confront the message. Truth, when spoken aloud, sounds like an insult to those who live by lies. But there's something even crueler than being hated for seeing. It's starting to doubt your own eyes. When the whole world denies what you perceive, sanity wavers, and the lucid, tired of fighting, begins to wonder, what if the one who's wrong is me? That's when the enemy stops being the world and starts living inside the mind. Did you know that feeling too much can be as dangerous as feeling nothing at all? There are those who carry not only their own pain, but everyone else's. These sensitive souls enter a room and leave drained, as if they had lived 1,000 lives in an hour. They absorb others' sadness, fear, emptiness, and believe it all belongs to them.
But what they're really feeling is the weight of the entire world.
You realize that this extreme empathy is a silent form of self-destruction. It's like being an emotional sponge. The more you feel, the less you exist. The borders between me and the other dissolve, and the person begins to vanish within what they perceive. Lucidity turns into confusion, the gift into chaos. And the cruelest part is that the world calls it sensitivity when it's almost emotional suicide.
But there's a limit that, once crossed, erases even your name. It's the point where awareness becomes a prison and the heart loses its voice. The lucid begins to ask, what within me is still mine? And it's in this internal collapse that something changes, not out of surrender, but out of the need to survive. That's where the understanding of the true gift is born, to see without dissolving into what is seen.
What if the real danger wasn't in seeing too much, but in not understanding what you see? Most who carry this lucidity believe they're going insane, when in truth they're waking up in a world still asleep. The problem isn't the clear vision, but the lack of comprehension. Because seeing without understanding is like lighting a lantern in a storm. It illuminates, but it also blinds. Clarity without direction is just another form of confusion. When the lucid realizes the burden is actually an invitation to awareness, everything changes. He understands he doesn't need to save the world, only to understand his role in it. Wisdom begins the moment one abandons the urge to fix what's crooked. Not everything seen must be corrected. Some truths exist only to be witnessed. That's when the gift stops being a wound and becomes a tool.
But that understanding is only the beginning of freedom, because seeing the game is not the same as knowing how to play it. The next step is no longer about perception, but about learning to remain calm amidst chaos. It's the birth of a new kind of lucidity, one that observes without interfering. And it's this silent wisdom I want to lead you toward now. Did you know that true power lies not in acting, but in restraint? Most believe wisdom means to fix, to intervene, when in truth it's the opposite. The wise man watches the storm without drowning in it. It's not about coldness, but mastery. Serenity, my friend, is the most refined form of strength a man can achieve.
Learning to see without trying to change everything is a rare art. The river doesn't need human hands to clear itself. It purifies when left alone. Life works the same way. The more we force it, the murkier it gets. True understanding arises when we accept that the world need not align with our awareness. In that balance between seeing and letting be, true peace is born. But mastering this calm takes more than philosophy. It takes discipline.
The modern world thrives on noise, haste, and urgency, and stillness has become rebellion. Serene, the lucid now disturbs even more, not by his words, but by his silence. And it's in that silence that the freedom of one who no longer needs to prove himself arises. After all, he who has learned to observe without reacting is ready for the next challenge, to exist without losing himself.
Have you noticed that the more someone tries to change the world world changes them? Excessive lucidity can become tyranny, disguised as virtue. Those who see everything but haven't learned restraint begin to use truth as a weapon. They judge, correct, demand, believing they bring light, but spreading fire instead. The result is predictable. The wise become preachers, and clarity becomes arrogance. True lucidity is humble. It doesn't need to win arguments or convert hearts. To see clearly is not to control, it is to understand. It's allowing others to walk at their own pace, even when they stumble where you once fell. And the more the lucid let go of the need to be right, the wider the world opens before them.
But this maturity demands a price, unlearning the impulse to interfere. It's the point where the observer stops being a judge and becomes the guardian of silence. He understands the world doesn't need saviors, but conscious witnesses. And at this stage, a new frontier arises, not between self and other, but between being and becoming. And it's that subtle, final frontier that we are about to cross.